Do I have your attention? 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 Do I have your attention?
Is you taking notes?
Alrighty, you guys, so the first thing we're going to do is work on our wet ingredients. So what we have here is a stick of just softened room temperature butter, and we're going to add in 1.5 cups of sugar. Now, this is definitely a sweet bread. I'm just letting y'all know right now. Some of my friends like to call this more so like blueberry yogurt cake, but I mean, it's in a bread loaf, so that's why I like to call it bread. But it's definitely very sweet, just letting you know right now. If you are not one that likes a lot of sugar, hey, maybe don't use the extra 1/2 cup. But I'm just saying, I think it's absolutely delicious. That's just my opinion. You know what I mean? So the next thing we're going to add is our organic vanilla bean paste. Now, I absolutely love this stuff. I'm going to add in a teaspoon of this. It goes a long way. Now, of course, if you're not able to find this vanilla bean paste, you can just use regular vanilla. That's completely fine. Just make sure that it's a pure vanilla. Don't use that imitation stuff. Honest to God, y'all, they really need to just stop selling it. No one should be using imitation vanilla for anything. I mean, really, but whatever. But if you cannot find the vanilla bean, then definitely use pure vanilla and use about 1/2 tablespoon. It'll do the same thing. But I'm telling you, the good thing about this vanilla bean paste, it has the little seeds in it and it gets mixed throughout the entire recipe, which is fabulous. So you want to make sure that, of course, you are breaking down the sides, wiping down the sides of your bowl. And then we're going to go on ahead and we're going to add in our 2 large eggs that, once again, all of this stuff is all at room temperature. That's really important. Now, you want to make sure that you're doing 1 egg at a time. So essentially, as you guys can see, I am kind of almost treating this like a cake batter. We're doing it, in slow increments. We're doing our wet first, then our dry separately. We're adding in our eggs 1 at a time because that's just going to create a really nice, fluffy piece of bread or whatever it is you want to call it. You know what I mean? So we're going to go ahead and add in that other egg. Now, once again, you definitely want to make sure that all of this stuff is at room temperature, just because it just makes it a lot easier when it comes down time to mixing everything together. You really don't want everything being at completely different temperatures because it's not going to cook evenly. And also, if you have to do like I do and use a hand mixer, honey, you'll be there all day. It ain't nobody got time for that. You know what I mean? So having everything at one temperature really does make the biggest difference in these type of recipes. And that goes for breads, that goes for cupcakes, muffins, whatever it is you're baking. Just make sure that all of your ingredients are at about the same temperature. So once again, we're going to wipe down the side of the bowl just to make sure that you don't have anything in particular just sticking to it because we ain't got time for that. So now I like to add the zest of a lemon. Now I'm not going to add in this entire lemon. I'm only going to use, I don't know, y'all, maybe two tablespoons worth. Just zest yourself in some lemon. If you like lemon, I would definitely say use the whole thing. But you guys, make sure when you are zesting any type of fruit, please make sure you are washing it before you put it in there, especially if it has that waxy texture stuff on the outside. That you do not want that in your food. So, if you're going to be zesting something, I always say get organic, but still make sure that you're washing it off. Because honestly, the other stuff is covered in like a layer of wax and you just don't want that in your food. You know what I mean? So what we're going to add in now, of course, is the star of the show, and that is the Chobani's Greek yogurt. Now, this is a 5.3 ounce container that I'm adding in, and I'm adding in the entire thing. Now, to me, this is what makes it the game changer. It is going to make the bread so extremely soft. I'm telling you, it really does make the biggest difference. And the funny thing is that when I used to make this bread, I actually used to just use plain Greek yogurt. And then I thought, well, that's foolish. They have blueberry flavored yogurt, and Chobani is actually, to me, a pretty great brand of yogurt. So I was like, why not just use that? Ever since then, honey, I have never gone back. So I'm telling you, Definitely try it out. So now that we've got that nicely incorporated in, first of all, it already smells delicious. Let me just tell you that right now. So now that we've got that mixed in, we can set that to the side and we're going to work on our dry ingredients. So what we're adding in right now is 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. We're also going to add in a teaspoon of salt, and we're going to add in about 1/8 of a teaspoon of, I'm sorry, let me make sure I said that right. A teaspoon of baking powder, honey, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. Let me make sure I make that very clear. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to add in that dry mixture to your wet mixture little by little. Just because, number one, you want to make sure that you are not having to overmix. And also by adding it in little by little, you're not going to make a big damn mess because ain't nobody got time for that. And the good thing about adding in your dry ingredients separately, you guys, is that you're able to make sure that you don't just have like a patch of like baking powder in one part of the bread. You're able to kind of give that a little toss around with your fingers, make sure that it was all mixed in, and then now you're able to add it into your wet ingredients. So that is a step that you don't want to miss. Now, I will say, because we are making a bread and it does not actually take that long to bake this bread, you want to make sure, you guys, that you're not over mixing. So truly and honestly, once you see that flour is completely mixed in, you can stop. You don't have to keep mixing and mixing and mixing, because you'll make your bread tough and you don't want that. So what we're going to add in right now is 11 ounces of fresh blueberries. Of course, those have been completely washed, but you want to make sure that you have really, really drained those. You don't want too much water coming into your bread mixture, because that could alter the texture of the bread. So definitely make sure that you're being mindful of that. I'm not saying you need to go put them in paper towels or nothing like that, but, definitely make sure that your blueberries are nice and drained. So while we're getting this mixed up, you want to make sure, you guys, that you have your oven preheated at 350 degrees. We're going to bake this at 350 degrees. This is a pretty quick recipe. Although this video might be 10 minutes long, you could honestly whip this recipe up together, and as far as putting it together, in no more than like 6 minutes. So that's how easy it is to really make this bread. Now, I'm going to be using just a standard, I don't even know what size this is, just a standard bread pan. And I'm going to be using the Pam's Bake Express Release spray, because I just think it's absolutely fabulous. And to me, it's the only baking spray that does not leave a weird taste to your food, because that spray is made with flour. Which is really, really key when it comes to baking. And now I'm just transferring, everything over to the baking dish. Now you want to make sure that you get yourself a spoon or something. That way you can level all of this out. That way your bread comes out of the oven nice and even. And then you're going to pat it down on the counter just a few times to get out any air bubbles. You're going to pop this in the oven, you guys, for 35 minutes. At the 35-minute mark, I want you guys to take it out of the oven, get yourself a toothpick. If it comes out almost clean, this is the key, almost clean, then leave it in for an additional 5 minutes and then take it out. If you put it in the oven and the toothpick comes out completely clean, you've overcooked it. You want it to be nice and soft. I'm telling you, it will set on its own. Let it sit for about a half hour before you flip it onto your serving tray. And I promise you, this bread comes out so extremely soft, moist, and delicious. Baby, you will love me for this recipe. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And as always, y'all baby, stay cute and take care. Go on ahead and enjoy yourself this recipe, honey. Don't overcook the bread, okay? Keep an eye on it. Don't let it dry out. Bye.
Simply Food by TY.